So we've been talking a lot about rivers, and especially a river that starts on top of the escarpment and crosses over. And today we're going to look at a totally different river. We're going to look at the New River, which starts on top of the escarpment and does a lot of meandering and stays on top of the escarpment and eventually makes it all the way to the Mississippi. So right behind me is the New River Trail. It's an old rails to trails, and we got the bike with us right here. We camped last night with the family over there. So we're gonna go for a bike ride. I'll take some shots along the way and we'll just kind of explore and see what the New River Trail looks like. So keep in mind, we're on top of the Blue Ridge, so it should be high relief up here, and yet the New River is kind of famous for being mellow. And there's some dams along the way too, so some big human impacts. Let's go see what it looks like. Okay, so the New River Trail goes 57 miles from Galax to the town of Pulaski in Virginia. And so we camped near Galax, so I'm riding along here. And we are not on the New River yet. We're actually on a creek that feeds into it. And it's a little bit steeper than the New River is itself. It's got some little rapids on it, but compared to what we've seen along the Linville, it's still pretty low angle. So we'll keep riding here, and when I get a shot of the creek, I'll take some so you can kind of see what the creek looks like along here. But here, I'll get some footage of what the trail looks like. It's beautiful. So we're just a couple miles down the trail here. I figure I'd stop. There's a cool old railroad bridge here that the trail goes on now, so that's a railroad bridge. Pretty little waterfall at the head of this creek. Still, I think 5 or 6 more miles till we get to the New River, so I figure I'd stop and show you the cool creek. So we just got to the river. So we came from that way over there, along the old train trestle, and the train trestle joins in at what's called Freeze Junction, because if we go that way on the trail, we go to Galax. If we go to that way, we go to Freeze. If we keep going the way we're going, that goes down to, well, eventually Pulaski. We're not going to go that far. But here's the New River. Rained the last couple days, including we got probably a half-inch rain last night while we were sitting around having a beer, and so it looks a little bit like chocolate milk down there. Everything's a little bit high. If I came back in 2 months, I've ridden this in October, and this will all be very, very low, and in fact even behind some of the dams would barely be any water at all. So, but yeah, it's a quiet river through here. We're gonna keep going. I'm now at 8.5 miles from camp, so this is an out and back, so any of these numbers you hear are eventually going to have to double. We're going to keep going at least probably 15 miles downstream, so we'll ride a total of 30 or so today. Trail is kind of packed in from all the moisture, so it's riding really fast. I think we're averaging about 17 miles an hour right now, so yeah, let's keep riding. See how far we can get. We are at the Blythesby Buck Hydroelectric Plant, also known as a dam. Not the most scenic thing in the world, if I'm honest. I've been here when there was more water coming through. It's gonna be really interesting to go downstream because it's letting so little water through right now that it's gonna be really dry and there's gonna be a lot of exposed channel bottom. So here's the channel. If we walk upstream here a little bit, you can see what the pool looks like above it. No trespassing. There's the reservoir. We're at 13.5 miles now. Let's keep going down. Go a little further. See you soon. So the thing about dams is that we don't release water when the ecosystem would release water. We release water when we need electricity. So we think a lot of the ecology upstream of the dam being affected, but we also get huge impacts on the ecology downstream because things like fish mating habits are interrupted because we let water through randomly. So this is a spot where the channel is just very strange. It's very rocky, and I'm sure it didn't ever look like this before. I've been kind of looking for a good view of it, but it's really pretty strange, right? It's a big wide channel with nothing in it. I think we're getting close to the next dam because if we look the other direction ahead of us, as we keep riding here, the water's starting to build up again. So I think we'll get closer to the next dam. I passed one earlier before I took the last video, but there wasn't a good place to take a video. So 13 miles in, I'm already at 2 dams. I have a feeling I'll be at 3 before we know it. All right, so we're at the 18-mile mark, and I've decided to ride out 20, so that'll give us 40 round trip. But I flipped us on here because we're crossing the big trestle that switches the side of the river we're on. So let's take a look around. It's pretty cool in here. So I've made it to Austinville. We're at 19.6 miles. So I'm gonna turn around here. That'll give us just short of 40 miles on the day. I've been kind of leisurely at this point, but I'm gonna ride a couple miles to the next water stop. I was hoping to be able to get water here, but I can't. So I'm gonna ride to the next water stop, fill my bottles there, and then I'm just gonna hammer back, do some parenting this afternoon. So thanks for coming along with me today. I'll take a couple videos on the way back, maybe one of the tunnel. Otherwise, that's it for today. See y'all. So it's the next day now. I had a little bit of an epic getting back here, a little mini epic. I ran out of calories and I ran out of water, and I was cramping, and I actually begged an apple off some people along the side of the trail so I could make it back. So after about 3 hours of solid riding, I rolled back into camp. I didn't have the energy to film that. So here we are the next morning. So we stayed here the night with the family, and so we're sitting here. So I just kind of wanted to wrap this up real quick. Basically, we rode 15 miles down Chestnut Creek and then the New River yesterday, and then back the other direction without ever really seeing any major change in topography. So this is what a river looks like when you're up on the escarpment. It seems like, because you're in the mountains, that these rivers should be draining somewhere quickly, and draining downhill and draining over some cliffs or something. And there's definitely, I mean, it's more relief than you see in the Piedmont. And there's little rapids. But you know, our kids, our young under 10 kids played in the creek all day yesterday without any danger. So these are not like swift water situations. It's just a really unique scenario where you think of these rivers being up on top and higher relief, that they would be these really steep rivers, but they're just not. And this river in particular wanders and flows north through West Virginia and eventually joins the Ohio River and heads towards the Mississippi. So this is kind of the difference for stuff that sits on this side of the escarpment. I think that's it. I just wanted to kind of wrap that up. See y'all.